At 2:07 a.m., my phone vibrated against the nightstand hard enough to rattle the glass of water beside it. I woke with a start, heart already racing before I even looked at the screen. No one calls at that hour unless something has gone terribly wrong. The caller ID read, Jess. My throat tightened. Jess never panicked. Jess handled things. If she was calling at 2 a.m., something catastrophic had happened. I answered on the second ring. Jess? What's wrong? For a moment, there was only breathing. Uneven. Shaky. Then her voice came out in a whisper that sounded like it had been dragged across broken glass. Chloe. I think I just saw your husband. The words didn't make sense. My brain tried to assemble them into meaning and failed. That's not possible, I said automatically. He's in Miami, she finished. At this private place on South Beach. He was with a woman. My stomach dropped so violently it felt physical, like missing a step in the dark. That's not funny, I said, though my voice had already gone thin. He's home. He's literally in the study right now. Because he was. 10 minutes earlier I had carried him chamomile tea while he sat in the blue glow of his monitor, headset on, discussing quarterly projections with colleagues in London. I'd seen their faces. Heard their voices. He'd squeezed my hand and mouthed "love you" before returning to the call. Jess inhaled sharply. Chloe, I know what I saw. My mouth had gone dry. Tell me exactly. I was leaving a client dinner, she said. Valet area outside this ultra-exclusive restaurant. A black Porsche pulled up. Your husband got out, went around, opened the passenger door, and helped a woman out. His arm was around her waist. They went inside together. Each word landed like a drop of acid. That wasn't him, I said, but the denial sounded weak even to me. I took pictures, she whispered. The room tilted. Send them. The message came seconds later. 3 photos. They were dim, grainy, taken from distance under amber streetlights. The man's face was mostly turned away. But the coat. My breath stopped. Charcoal gray cashmere. Tailored shoulders. Clean back seam. And on the cuff, barely visible in the blur, a tiny stitched pattern I had designed myself when I special ordered it from Italy. There were only 2 in the world. One hung in my husband's closet. The other had never left its garment bag. My hands began to shake. Jess, I whispered, are you absolutely sure? Chloe. Her voice broke. I've known Michael 8 years. I watched you marry him. I know the way he walks. I know his build. That was him. I turned slowly toward the hallway. Light glowed beneath the study door. Michael was still inside. Still talking. Still, here. 2 places. Same time. My skin prickled. That's impossible, I said. I know, Jess said softly. That's why I called. I stood and moved toward the study on numb feet. The carpet muffled my steps. My pulse thundered in my ears. The door was slightly ajar. Inside, Michael sat at his desk in navy pajamas and a gray cardigan, pen spinning between his fingers as he spoke to the screen. We'll need to tighten receivables in Q1, he was saying calmly. David, can you coordinate with finance? 3 executives nodded on the monitor. Real-time responses. Real conversation. Real husband. Alive, present, undeniable. My vision tunneled. If he was here. Who was in Miami? My phone buzzed again. Jess, they just left. Same car. Heading west. Should I follow? I stared at the message while my world quietly split in half. Then I typed back. No. Don't. I'll handle this. I closed the study door without him noticing. Went back to the bedroom. Opened airline apps with trembling fingers. The earliest flight to Miami left at 7. The earliest flight to Miami left at 7:20 a.m. I booked it before I could think. The confirmation email arrived instantly, bright and cheerful in the darkness of my bedroom, as if I'd just planned a vacation instead of chasing a fracture in reality. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. From down the hall, I could still hear Michael's voice, steady, professional, completely ordinary. Ordinary. That was the word that broke me. Because nothing about this was ordinary. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the photos Jess had sent. I zoomed in until the pixels dissolved into grain. Coat seam. Shoulder line. Wrist angle. Even the way he stood, slightly forward, as if perpetually leaning into the future. It was him. It was absolutely him. Except he was 20 feet away. My mind began clawing for explanations. Look-alike. Coincidence. Lighting distortion. Doppelganger. Hallucination. Or the word I didn't want to think. Betrayal. I forced myself up and walked to Michael's closet. The garment bag hung exactly where I'd left it weeks ago, untouched, zipper sealed. I slid it open with numb fingers. The charcoal coat was inside. Pristine. Tags still looped through the inner label. I checked the cuffs. My embroidered pattern stared back at me, unworn, uncreased, perfect. The air left my lungs in a rush. So if this coat was here, then the one in Miami couldn't exist. Unless. My chest tightened. Unless I was wrong about how many existed. Memory surfaced slowly, the boutique call, the excitement, the designer mentioning the limited run. I'd ordered 2 sizes to ensure the perfect fit. One for Michael. The other, intended as a surprise for his cousin Ryan, who shared his build almost exactly. I'd never given it to him. It should still be in the spare room. I went there next. Opened that closet. The second garment bag was gone. For a moment I couldn't process what I was seeing. The empty hanger swung slightly, as if someone had just removed it minutes ago. I stood frozen. Ryan. Of course. Relief hit so suddenly my knees almost buckled. Ryan and Michael had grown up like brothers. Similar height, same broad shoulders, even similar posture. From behind, especially in identical clothing, they were nearly indistinguishable. Jess had only seen his back. It had to be Ryan. I grabbed my phone and opened his social media. Latest post, 4 hours ago. A beach at sunset. Caption, finally escaped winter. Needed this. Location tag, Miami. My lungs filled for the first time in minutes. There it is. Solved. Explained. Over. My thumb hovered over Jess's chat to tell her she'd mistaken him. Then a news notification slid across the top of my screen. Tech entrepreneur Ryan Miller speaks at Singapore Investment Summit. I frowned and opened it. The article loaded with multiple high-resolution photos. Ryan at a podium. Ryan shaking hands with officials. Ryan in a navy suit under a banner displaying today's date. Singapore. Not Miami. The relief drained out of me so fast it felt like vertigo. I grabbed the bedpost to steady myself. If Ryan was in Singapore, then who had taken the coat? My thoughts scattered like glass shards. I returned to the hallway and pulled up the home security app. Camera feeds lined the screen, front door, dining room, study entrance. I scrubbed back through the evening timeline. 6:42 p.m., Michael arriving home. 7:31 p.m., us at dinner. 8:14 p.m., him entering the study. No exits. No coat removal. No anomalies. He had never left the house. Which meant the man in Miami. My pulse spiked again. I replayed Jess's photo, zooming on the wrist this time. A watch gleamed faintly in the blur. Metal bracelet. Slim case. Left wrist. My anniversary gift. The one Michael never removed. My stomach dropped into ice. Behind me, the study door opened. I jerked around. Michael stepped out, stretching, headset around his neck. He smiled when he saw me. "Hey," he said softly. "You're still awake?" I stared at his left wrist. The watch was there. Ticking. Real. Impossible. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked, stepping closer, concern creasing his brow. I searched his face for cracks, hesitation, guilt, anything. There was nothing. Only the man I'd loved for 8 years. "I had a nightmare," I said. He brushed my hair back gently. "About what?" My throat tightened. "About you," I whispered. "About me?" Michael echoed softly. His fingers were still in my hair, warm and familiar, grounding in a way that almost made me hate him in that moment, because if he was lying, then even his tenderness was counterfeit. I forced a shaky laugh. "Yeah. You were, somewhere else. And I couldn't reach you." His expression melted into that gentle concern he always wore when I was anxious. "Hey," he murmured, pulling me into his chest. "I'm right here." My cheek pressed against his shoulder. His heartbeat was steady. Real. Undeniable. And yet. I saw the photo again in my mind, charcoal coat, arm around another woman, Miami night. I pulled back just enough to look at him. "You were home all day, right?" He blinked, confused. "Yeah. Office in the morning, meetings, then here." "Why? Nowhere else?" A small frown. "No. Chloe, what's going on?" I held his gaze a second longer than normal, searching for any micro-expression. Any slip. There was none. Just bewilderment. "Nothing," I said. "Just a weird dream." He studied me another moment, then kissed my forehead. "You need sleep." His lips lingered a fraction longer than usual, comforting, protective. The exact same gesture I'd seen in Sophia's photos later, though I didn't know that yet. "Come back to bed," he said. "I'll be there in a minute." He nodded and returned to the bedroom. I stood in the hallway, heart pounding so hard it hurt. Either Jess had somehow hallucinated my husband in another state, or reality itself had cracked open. I didn't sleep. I lay beside him, staring into darkness while his breathing deepened into dreams. At 4:52 a.m., I slipped out of bed and began packing. Small suitcase. Essentials only. Neutral clothes. I wrote a note and left it on his nightstand. "Jess needs help. Flew to Miami. Back soon. Love you." The lie tasted bitter already. By 5:30 I was in a rideshare headed to the airport, city still wrapped in pre-dawn blue. Every streetlight flicker felt unreal, like I'd stepped sideways into someone else's life. Jess texted, "You're actually coming?" "Yes." Landing 11:05. 3 dots appeared, vanished, returned. Chloe. I barely slept. What if I was wrong? I watched the highway blur past. Then I get a beach day. I didn't add, and my sanity back. The flight passed in a haze of recycled air and intrusive thoughts. I replayed the variables again and again. Michael home, confirmed. Ryan in Singapore, confirmed. Coat in Miami, confirmed. Watch match, probable. Witness credible, high. Conclusion, impossible. Unless. My brain refused the last step. Miami hit like a warm, wet breath when I exited the terminal. Jess stood near arrivals, pale and exhausted. The moment she saw me, guilt flooded her face. "Chloe, I'm so sorry," she said, hugging me hard. "I think I messed up. Lighting was awful. I barely saw his face." "Start from the beginning," I said gently. We sat in an airport cafe. She pushed her latte untouched, fingers trembling around the cup. I left a client dinner around 9:30, she said. Walking past this private restaurant, super exclusive. A black Porsche pulled up. He got out first. You're sure? Yes. Tall, broad shoulders, slight forward lean. Same as Michael. Her voice shook. He went around, opened the door for her. Hand on her waist. They went inside together. I slid the photo across the table. This? She swallowed. Yes. I zoomed into the coat cuff. Jess nodded immediately. That embroidery thing you showed me when you ordered it. My chest tightened. Did you see his face? No. Angle was wrong. But Chloe, the way he moved, she met my eyes. It was him. I forced calm. What about the woman? Wine red gown. Incredible figure. Hair up. Very elegant. Younger than you. Maybe late 20s. Something cold slipped under my ribs. You waited? 40 minutes, she said. They came out, got in the same Porsche, drove west. License plate? Partial. I wrote it down somewhere. I think 687. Or 6827. West. Luxury villas. Private rentals. Wealth pockets. I stared at the table. If it was Michael, he had a place here. A life here. A woman here. And somehow, an alibi at home. My pulse thudded. Jess, I said quietly, take me to that restaurant. She hesitated. Chloe, what if this hurts you? I met her eyes. It already does. The restaurant sat behind a matte black wall on a street that pretended it didn't exist. No sign. No menu in the window. Just a narrow steel door and a discreet brass plaque with a single word etched into it, Aurelian. Jess parked across the street. My hands were cold despite the Miami heat pressing against the windshield. That's it, she whispered. They went in there. I watched the door as if it might open again and release the truth back into daylight. It didn't. Okay, I said, forcing steadiness. Let's go. Inside, the air changed. Cool. Amber lit. Scented faintly of citrus and expensive wood polish. The space felt less like a restaurant and more like a private club designed for secrets. A hostess in black silk greeted us with a practiced smile. Good afternoon. Do you have a reservation? No, I said. But my husband does. Her smile sharpened a fraction. May I have his name? My mouth went dry. If she recognized it. If she didn't. Both outcomes terrified me. Michael Hale. Her expression didn't flicker. She turned to the tablet on her stand, fingers gliding across the screen. 1 second. 2. 3. Then, I'm sorry. We have no reservations under that name. My lungs released slowly. Relief, or disappointment? I couldn't tell. Jess squeezed my elbow. Could it be under another name? The hostess added politely. We do maintain a guest privacy policy. My pulse ticked up again. Yes, I said. Possibly. He was here last night. Around 9:30. The hostess's eyes lifted, studying me now, not rude, but assessing. Measuring. May I ask your relation? My husband, I said. I'm trying to surprise him. A beat. Then she smiled again. I'm afraid we cannot confirm or deny guest presence without authorization. Corporate elegance for not your business. Of course, I said softly. Thank you. We turned away. I made it 3 steps before my composure cracked. I stopped beside a wall lined with framed wine labels, breathing too fast. Jess whispered, Chloe. I need the bathroom, I said. The restroom was empty, marble and mirrors. I gripped the sink, staring at my reflection. You're spiraling. He wasn't here. This is paranoia. Except. Jess saw him. The code existed. The movement matched. I splashed water on my face. When I looked up again, a woman stood behind me. She hadn't been there a second earlier. Tall. Sculpted. Wine-red silk dress that draped like poured paint. Dark hair pinned in an elegant twist. Late 20s. Jess's description slammed into reality. The woman met my eyes in the mirror. Her gaze moved over me, face, clothes, posture, with the quick precision of someone used to assessing rivals. Then she smiled. First time here? She asked lightly. My throat closed. Yes, I managed. It can be intimidating, she said, stepping to the adjacent sink. My partner loves it. Partner. The word echoed. She washed her hands slowly, rings flashing, diamond, emerald, platinum. Wealth layered casually. Are you visiting? She asked. Yes, I said. My husband's working. Ah. A small, knowing curve of her lips. Men and their work. She dried her hands, then looked at me directly, not mirror now, but face to face. Up close, she was breathtaking. Flawless skin. Sharp cheekbones. Eyes the color of aged cognac. And something else. Recognition. Not of me. But of the category I belonged to. Wife. Enjoy Aurelian, she said. If you can get a reservation. She turned to leave. As she moved, her clutch shifted under her arm. Black leather. Subtle stitching at the edge. 3 interlocking letters. MH. My breath stopped. I knew that monogram. I'd chosen that monogram. For Michael's custom travel set. The matching duffel, garment bag, and, yes, clutch for formal events. My vision tunneled. Excuse me, I said. She paused, half turning. Yes? My voice felt detached from my body. Where did you get that bag? Her gaze flicked down to it, then back up. A smile. Slow. Possessive. It was a gift, she said. From who? She tilted her head. My partner, she answered. And walked out. I stood frozen, the mirror reflecting a woman I barely recognized, eyes wide, world splitting open. Jess's words roared back. Wine-red gown. Incredible figure. Younger than you. My husband's monogram in her hand. My husband's coat in Miami. My husband at home. 2 realities. 1 man. I reached for my phone with shaking fingers. Time to break the impossible. I hit Michael's contact. And pressed call. The phone rang once. Twice. 3 times. Each tone stretched thin across the marble restroom, vibrating through my bones. Then. Hey, Chloe. Michael's voice. Warm. Familiar. Slightly breathless, like he'd moved quickly to answer. My heart slammed against my ribs. Hi, I said, forcing normalcy. Did I wake you? A soft laugh. No. I was up. You okay? Your note freaked me out a little. Note. Right. Jess needs help. Flew to Miami. I'm fine, I said. Just, airport chaos. Where are you now? I swallowed. If he said home. Office, he said easily. Why? The world tilted. Office. Not home. Not Miami. Office. I pressed my hand against the sink to steady myself. No reason. Just checking. You sound weird, he said gently. Everything all right with Jess? Yeah, I whispered. She just needed support. Good, he said. I hate you flying alone stressed. That tenderness again. The one that felt like truth. Unless truth had two bodies. Michael, I said slowly, what did you do last night? A beat. Work, he said. Late calls with Singapore. Then home. Why? No hesitation. No gap. Perfect continuity. My pulse pounded in my ears. Because at that exact moment, the restroom door opened behind me. And heels clicked across marble. I turned. Wine-red silk. Cognac eyes. Her. She saw me on the phone and paused at the mirror, adjusting her lipstick with lazy elegance. My breath vanished. I lifted a finger toward her without breaking the call. Michael, I said quietly, are you alone right now? Yeah, he said. Conference room. Should I step out? Conference room. Her gaze met mine in the mirror. And she smiled. Not polite. Not social. Intimate. Claiming. She lifted her own phone from her clutch. Black. Sleek. Familiar model. And raised it to her ear. My blood froze. Because in my ear. Michael said, sorry, Chloe, 1 second. Other line. The call clicked to hold. The restroom filled with silence. She watched me through the mirror as her phone connected. Then she spoke. And Michael's voice came out of her mouth's receiver. Hey, he said softly. You all right? Her lips curved. I miss you, she murmured. My knees nearly gave. On my phone, faint through hold music bleed, I heard the same voice continue, muted, distant, but unmistakable. 2 calls. Same man. Same moment. 2 women. 2 worlds. My stomach dropped into nothing. She leaned one hip against the counter, gaze locked on me as she spoke into her phone. When are you coming back? She asked him. In a few days, he said. Work's insane. Back. Back to her. My throat burned. She traced the rim of the sink with manicured nails. You promised this time wouldn't be long. I know, he said. I hate being away from you. Away. From her. While lying to me. The room spun. I lifted my phone back to my ear. Michael? I said. On hold, he returned instantly. Yeah, babe, sorry. What were you saying? Babe. The word shattered something fundamental inside me. Behind me, she listened to the same voice call her love. 2 endearments. 1 man. Parallel lives. I stared at her reflection. She stared back. And in that mirrored space between us, the truth finally took shape. This wasn't an affair. Affairs hide. This was architecture. 2 schedules. 2 locations. 2 women fully claimed. 2 realities engineered to never intersect. Until now. Her call ended first. She lowered her phone slowly, eyes never leaving mine. Then she spoke, out loud this time. Is he with you right now? She asked. My grip tightened on the phone. No, I said. Her smile widened. Good, she said softly. He's supposed to be with me. And walked out again, silk whispering behind her like a closing curtain. I stood alone with Michael still in my ear saying, Chloe? You there? I tasted iron. Yes, I said. But everything inside me had just died. Or been born. I didn't know which yet. I don't remember leaving the restroom. One moment I was staring at my own reflection, face drained, eyes hollowed, and the next I was outside in Miami heat that felt violently alive against my skin. Jess rushed toward me. Chloe, what happened? You look. He has another partner, I said. The words came out flat. Clinical. Like I was reporting weather. Jess blinked. What? She's here. At the restaurant. Wine red dress. She has his bag. His monogram. My voice stayed eerily calm. And she's on the phone with him. Right now. Same time as me. Jess's face went slack. That's not possible. That's what I thought, I said. I started walking. I didn't know where. Just away from the door. Away from the version of my life that had just disintegrated under polished marble lighting. Jess caught up. Chloe, slow down. No. My pulse had shifted from shock to something sharper. Colder. Thought cutting through trauma. Because one realization kept repeating. This wasn't random. It was engineered. By the time we reached the car, my brain was already assembling fragments. Jess, I said, when you saw him last night, what time exactly? 9:32, she said automatically. I texted myself so I'd remember. I checked my call log. Michael and I had FaceTimed at 9:41 p.m. From our living room. Same night. Same man. 2 places. Jess watched me connect it. Oh my God. Yeah, I whispered. We sat in silence a moment, the magnitude settling like ash. Then Jess said carefully, Chloe, there's only one way this works. I know, I said. 2 identities. Or 2 locations. Or 2 men. But no. My bones knew Michael. Voice, cadence, microexpressions, gestures. The way he rubbed his thumb across my knuckles when he was thinking. The slight asymmetry in his smile. Impossible to duplicate. Unless. Twins. The thought landed fully formed. I turned to Jess slowly. Have you ever heard Michael mention a brother? She frowned. No. Family? Parents divorced. Only child. That's what you told me. That's what he told me. My chest tightened. If there was a twin. He'd hidden him for a decade of marriage. Why? Back at Jess's condo, I spread everything across the dining table. Photos she took. My screenshots. Call times. Travel dates. Michael's business trips. Patterns emerged fast, and they were terrifyingly precise. Every Singapore trip aligned with Miami sightings. Every late-night call gap matched her timeline. Alternate holidays. Alternate absences. 2 calendars interlocked. 2 lives. 0 overlap. Jess leaned over the table, whispering, "This is insane." No, I said quietly. It's deliberate. I pointed to a column. He's never been unavailable to me more than 48 hours. Another. She says he's away but returns regularly. Another. No shared public photos with either of us. Another. Different cities as base. Jess sank into a chair. Chloe, this is bigamy. The word hung between us like a blade. Bigamy. Not cheating. Marriage number 2. Or partnership equivalent. My stomach rolled. Unless, I said, it's 2 men sharing one identity. Jess looked up sharply. Twins. Yes. Silence. Then, that's somehow worse. I almost laughed. Because she was right. An affair is betrayal. But this was system design. I opened my laptop. Step 1, birth records. Michael Hale. Born May 12, 1985. Portland. I searched public registries. No twin listed. Only child. Jess watched. So, not twins? Not officially. which meant hidden. Or my throat tightened. Or I'd never known his real name at all. I leaned back slowly. For 10 years, I had believed I knew every contour of my husband's life. Family history. Childhood photos. College stories. All consistent. Unless those memories were curated. Edited. Shared. Split. My pulse thudded. Jess, I said, if there are 2 of them, she thinks she's the only one. Jess nodded grimly. Same as you. I stared at the photos of the wine-red woman. Her confidence. Her claim. He's supposed to be with me. Rage finally sparked under the shock. Because she wasn't the enemy. We were both installations. In someone else's architecture. I closed the laptop. Okay, I said. Jess looked up. Okay, what? I met her eyes. We don't confront him yet. Her brows shot up. Chloe. We map it first, I said. All of it. Names. Properties. Records. Every lie. My voice had changed. Steel replacing fracture. Because if there are 2 men, I said quietly, I want to know which one I married. And which one I'm going to destroy. We started with the simplest question. Who legally exists? It sounds obvious, until you're staring at a man whose life appears duplicated across 2 states with surgical precision. Jess brewed coffee while I rebuilt Michael from scratch. Not husband. Not memory. Data. Marriage certificate. I pulled the scanned copy from our cloud storage. Michael Andrew Hale. Born, May 12, 1985. Portland, Oregon. Parents, Richard Hale, Donna Hale. I opened a background database. Birth registry, matched. Social security trace, valid. Driver's license, active. Tax filings, consistent. Every document aligned perfectly. Jess leaned over my shoulder. So he's real. Yes, I said. Legally flawless. Which meant if there was a second man, he either shared the same identity or used a different one entirely. Search Miami property, Jess said. I nodded. Miami-Dade ownership records opened in a grid of sunlit wealth. We tried Hale first. Multiple results. None Michael Andrew. Then I remembered Jess's partial plate. 687 or 6827, she'd said. Florida vehicle lookups required more filters. Model, color. Black Porsche, Jess added. Miami. Male owner. We narrowed. 3 matches. Owner names appeared. Daniel Mercer. Evan Hale. Christopher Voss. My breath hitched. Evan Hale. Jess saw it too. Hale. Yeah. I clicked. Owner, Evan Robert Hale. Born, May 12, 1985. Portland, Oregon. Parents, Richard Hale, Donna Hale. The room went silent. Jess whispered, no. But the screen didn't change. Same birthday. Same parents. Different first name. 2 men. 1 birth. My hand started shaking. Scroll, Jess said. I did. Property, waterfront villa, purchased 2018. Photo loaded. Glass walls. Private dock. Infinity pool facing Biscayne Bay. Jess swallowed. That's where she lives. I knew it instantly. Because I'd seen the terrace before. In Michael's background once, blurred, dismissed as client location. My stomach dropped. He's been there, I said. Or his brother, Jess whispered. Brother. The word finally solidified. I opened Evan's records further. Business filings, luxury marine investments. Travel logs, frequent Asia and Europe. Relationship status, private. No marriage listed. No spouse. Just like Michael. 2 bachelors. 2 lives. 2 women unofficially bound. My chest ached. Chloe, Jess said quietly, they're identical twins. I stared at the birth data. Same day. Same parents. No second listing, likely sealed or amended. Why hide a twin? Only one reason made sense. Shared identity advantages. Financial. Legal. Personal. Or. I exhaled slowly. Deception. I pulled childhood records next. School yearbooks. Michael Hale, listed. Evan Hale, absent. Not separate schools. Same address zone. Which meant only one child publicly existed. The other erased. My pulse pounded. Jess, one twin was hidden. Why would parents do that? I didn't answer. Because darker possibilities were surfacing. Fraud. Custody issues. Inheritance manipulation. Or. The most chilling one. A plan started decades ago. Then I found it. 1989 local article. Short column. Hale family celebrates miracle birth. I opened the scan. A photo appeared, grainy, newspaper ink, but unmistakable. 2 infants. Identical. Held by the same smiling parents. Caption. Richard and Donna Hale of Portland welcome twin sons, Michael and Evan, born May 12. Twin sons. Public. Acknowledged. So why did all later records show only one? Jess leaned in. They erased Evan. Yes. Why? I zoomed the article footer. Below the photo, a follow-up line added months later. Family requests privacy after medical complications affecting one child. My skin prickled. Medical complications. One child. Removed from public record. But not from existence. Jess sank back. So Evan grows up hidden, and later resurfaces? Or both identities merge, I said. One public, one private. And they share roles. I nodded slowly. Alternate cities. Alternate relationships. Alternate lives. Jess whispered, that's psychotic. No. It was structured. Deliberate. Engineered across decades. And I had married into it unknowingly. I stared at Evan's villa photo again. At the terrace. The glass. The water. The place where the wine-red woman waited for her partner. Jess, I said quietly, we go there. Her eyes widened. Chloe. I need to see which twin she's with. And then? I closed the laptop. Cold clarity settling like ice. Then I decide, I said, which brother ruined my life. And how I'm going to ruin his back. We drove to Biscayne Bay just before sunset. Miami shifted as we moved east, glass towers thinning into palm-lined silence, wealth growing quieter and more deliberate. Gates replaced sidewalks. Security cameras replaced neighbors. Jess slowed as the navigation pin pulsed. There, she said. The villa rose from the shoreline like a mirage of steel and light. Floor-to-ceiling glass. White stone terraces stepping toward a private dock where a black speedboat rocked gently in gold water. I knew it. Not from records. From memory. Michael's been here, I whispered. Jess glanced at me. You're sure? Yes. Because I remembered a call months ago, him outside somewhere bright, wind ruffling his hair. He'd turned the camera too quickly when I asked where he was. Client property, he'd said. My stomach tightened. We parked across the street beneath palms heavy with dusk. Lights glowed inside the villa. Occupied. Jess exhaled. Chloe, we shouldn't just walk in. I'm not, I said. But I was already opening the door. The closer I got, the more details aligned with the man I loved. Minimalist landscaping. Exact stone tone he preferred. Even the entry handle, matte titanium, same brand as our home renovation fixtures. Twin taste. Twin ownership. Or shared life. I reached the gate. Security panel. Camera eye blinking red. Jess whispered behind me, "What's the plan?" I didn't answer. Because at that exact moment, the front door opened. And he stepped out. My heart stopped. Michael. Same height. Same build. Same dark hair catching sunset copper. Same way he rolled his sleeves to mid-forearm. Every cell in my body recognized him. He turned slightly, speaking back into the house. 5 minutes, he said. His voice carried across water. My lungs collapsed. Michael. Here. While also. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I looked down. Michael, calling. The world split clean in two. One Michael at the villa gate. One Michael on my phone. I answered without thinking. Hey, said the voice I knew better than my own. Just landed from a meeting. Wanted to check on you. Airports. Flights. Distance. While his duplicate stood 20 yards away in Florida sunset. My vision tunneled. Jess grabbed my arm. Chloe. But I was already stepping toward the gate. Villa Michael saw me then. His face shifted, from neutral to puzzled to startled in one fluid, familiar sequence. Exactly the expression Michael makes when surprised. He walked toward the gate slowly. On my phone, my husband said, "You there?" I couldn't breathe. Two identical men. One voice in my ear. One body in front of me. Both real. Both mine. Both not. Villa Michael stopped a few feet from the bars. Up close, the resemblance was absolute. But not perfect. A scar at his jawline, absent on my husband. Slightly lighter eyes. A fraction leaner. He studied me with intense focus. "Can I help you?" he asked. Same cadence. Same timbre. My knees weakened. On the phone, Chloe? Connection bad? I lifted the phone slowly so Villa Michael could see the caller ID. His gaze dropped. Read the name. Michael. His face went white. The shock there was genuine. Equal to mine. Which meant he didn't know about me either. I ended the call. Silence crashed in. We stared at each other through the gate. Two strangers bound by the same man. Or rather, the same twin. His voice came out rough. "Who are you?" My throat burned. "I'm Chloe," I said. "Michael's wife." The word hit him like a bullet. He staggered back a step. "No," he whispered. I pulled my wedding ring into view. His eyes locked on it. Then he looked back at my face, searching, verifying, breaking. Inside the villa, a woman's voice called, "Evan?" "Who is it?" Wine-red silk appeared in the doorway. Her gaze landed on me. Then on him. Then on the space between us, thick with truth. She went still. "Evan," she said again. Evan. The name settled. Not Michael. The other one. The hidden twin. The man my husband had mirrored. Or shared. Or replaced. He looked at her. Then at me. And I watched realization detonate across both their faces simultaneously. Because now we all knew. There weren't two separate betrayals. There was one system. And we had just collided inside it. No one moved. The bay behind the villa burned orange, but the world at the gate had gone colorless. The woman in the doorway, wine-red silk, cognac eyes, looked between us, confusion sharpening into dread. "Evan," she said slowly, "who is she?" His mouth opened. Closed. He looked like a man watching his own life implode in real time. I answered for him. "I'm Chloe," I said. "Michael's wife." Her face emptied. "No," she said. The word was identical to his. I lifted my left hand. The ring caught sunset fire. Her gaze locked on it. Then, almost involuntarily, her own hand rose. A ring there too. Platinum. Emerald cut diamond. Different design. Same meaning. My stomach dropped through my body. She whispered, "I'm Sophia." The name landed heavy. "I'm Evan's wife." The silence that followed wasn't shock anymore. It was recognition. 2 women. 2 marriages. 2 twins. 1 shared deception. Sophia stepped closer, heels soft on stone. Her eyes moved over me, not with rivalry now, but alignment. "How long?" she asked. 10 years, I said. Her lips parted. 8, she said. Jess sucked in breath behind me. Evan dragged a hand through his hair, pacing once, twice, like an animal in a closing cage. This isn't," he started. "Don't," Sophia said quietly. He stopped. Because whatever lie he'd been about to choose was obsolete. I looked at him fully now. Not my husband. But his mirror. The same DNA that had kissed me goodnight for a decade. "Does Michael know about me?" I asked. Evan flinched. "Answer enough." Sophia's gaze snapped to him. "About her?" He swallowed. "Yes." The word fell like glass. Sophia's breath left in a sharp sound. I felt oddly detached. Because confirmation hurt less than uncertainty. "Does he know about me?" she asked. Evan hesitated. And that hesitation said everything. Her eyes closed briefly. "Of course," she whispered. I gripped the gate bars. "Explain," I said. Not shouted. Not hysterical. Command. He looked at both of us, 2 women whose lives had just fused into one nightmare. "It started, years ago," he said hoarsely. "Our parents. No childhood stories," I cut in. "The system." He nodded, swallowing. "We grew up sharing identity advantages," he said. Michael kept the legal public track, school, records, credit. I handled private ventures, investments, offshore work, assets not meant to connect to the Hale name. Sophia stared. "You told me you were an only child." "I am publicly," he said. I said, "And the marriages?" His jaw tightened. "That wasn't planned." I laughed once. A hard, dead sound. "You accidentally married 2 women in different states?" His eyes flicked to me. "No," he said. "Michael married you." Sophia's head snapped toward him. "And me?" He looked at her. "I married you." The air left my lungs. Of course. Not one man bigamously splitting. 2 men. Each with 1 wife. Both hiding the other's existence. Sophia whispered, "You knew he was married?" Evan's silence was answer. She staggered back a step. "You let me believe." "I loved you," he said. "Stop," she said. The word sliced. I forced the next question. "Why keep the double life?" Evan looked between us. "Because separation was essential," he said. "Our financial architecture depends on dual identity channels. If one life collapses legally, the other remains insulated." Sophia stared at him like he'd spoken another language. I understood instantly. 2 legal existences. 2 marriage assets. 2 inheritance lines. 2 liability shields. We weren't wives. We were structural pillars. Human diversification. My stomach turned. Sophia's voice shook. So what now? Evan looked wrecked. Michael can't know this happened, he said. The audacity landed like fire. I felt something cold and lethal settle inside me. Oh, I said softly. He already does. Because my phone, still in my hand, buzzed again. Michael calling. Again. 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 He knew something was wrong. And for the first time since this began. I smiled. Not with grief. With clarity. Answer it, I said, holding the phone up between us. Evan stared at his brother's name lighting the screen. Sophia stared too. For lives balanced on one decision. Put him on speaker, I said quietly. Let's all meet. The phone kept vibrating in my hand. Michael calling. Relentless now. Evan stared at the screen like it might detonate. Sophia stood frozen in the villa doorway, one hand braced against the frame as if the house itself were the only stable thing left in her world. Jess whispered behind me, Chloe, are you sure? No. But certainty wasn't required anymore. Truth was. Answer it, I said. Evan didn't move. I stepped closer to the gate, extending the phone through the bars until it hovered inches from his chest. His reflection stared back from the glass, my husband's face fractured by terror. Evan, Sophia said quietly, answer him. That did it. He took the phone. His thumb hesitated once over the screen. Then accepted. Michael, he said. Even his voice, nearly identical, carried a different weight now. Tighter. Exposed. There was a split-second pause. Then my husband's voice came through speaker. Why is Chloe's phone with you? No greeting. No confusion. Immediate recognition. Which meant one thing. He'd seen me on camera. Or location. Or instinct. He knew. I felt Sophia's gaze snap to me. Evan swallowed. We have a problem. A breath crackled across the line. Then Michael said quietly, who knows? All 4 of us. But he meant, which system compromised? I leaned into the phone. I do, I said. Silence detonated. On the other end, my husband stopped breathing. Chloe, he said. Not question. Not surprise. Recognition. Like he'd always known this collision was inevitable. Sophia stepped beside Evan now, voice shaking. And me. Another silence. Longer. He spoke her name next. Sophia. Her knees buckled, Evan caught her arm. Because the voice that had kissed her for 8 years was now speaking to another wife. The bay lapped softly behind us. Somewhere distant, a boat engine hummed. Normal world sounds intruding on total collapse. Michael exhaled slowly. How much do you know? He asked. Everything, I said. Enough, Sophia whispered. Evan closed his eyes. Michael's voice changed then, professional calm sliding into place like armor. All right, he said. No one speak to anyone else about this. We need containment. Containment. The word burned. I laughed, sharp and incredulous. Containment? Yes, he said. This isn't just personal. There are legal structures tied. Stop, Sophia said. Her voice had gone very still. Are we wives, she asked, or assets? The question cut cleaner than rage. Michael didn't answer immediately. And that delay told us everything. I took the phone back from Evan. 10 years, I said. Was any of it real? His voice softened. Yes. I closed my eyes. Which parts? A pause. Loving you, he said. My throat burned. Sophia whispered beside me, he told me the same. Because of course he had. 2 brothers. 2 marriages. Both genuine inside their separate bubbles. The lie wasn't emotion. It was omission. Which somehow felt worse. Why? I asked. This time, no deflection. Michael exhaled. Our father built a dual-channel identity model, he said. 1 public heir, 1 shadow operator. Evan and I maintained it into adulthood. It protects assets, liability, political exposure. And wives? I said. Silence. Then. That diverged, he admitted. Sophia let out a broken laugh. You mean you both fell in love? Yes, Evan said. Michael echoed, yes. 2 voices. Same confession. I almost admired the symmetry. What happens now? Jess asked quietly. Michael answered instantly. You and Sophia return home, he said. Evan and I will restructure exposure paths and... No, I said. The word landed like steel. He stopped. Chloe, he said carefully. No, I repeated. You don't get to manage this. Sophia straightened beside me. Agreed. Evan looked between us, dread deepening. Michael's tone hardened. You don't understand the stakes. I smiled slowly. Oh, I said. I do. 2 identities. 2 marriages. Interwoven finances. Hidden assets. Public reputations. If the truth surfaced. Everything collapsed. Which meant for the first time. Power had shifted. From them. To us. I looked at Sophia. She looked at me. No rivalry now. Only shared devastation. And something new beneath it. Alliance. I lifted the phone again. Michael, I said quietly, you and your brother have exactly 1 hour. For what? He asked. To come here, I said. Silence. Then, or? I let the word hang. Watched the bay burn darker. Felt Sophia's shoulder steady against mine. Or, I said softly, we introduce your architecture to the world. And ended the call. The moment the call ended, the air changed. Before, shock had frozen us in place. Now, time started moving again, fast, sharp, irreversible. Evan exhaled hard, dragging both hands down his face. You shouldn't have done that. Sophia turned on him. Done what? Refused to stay hidden? I meant the threat, he said. You have no idea what detonating this does. I laughed softly. You mean besides ending your double life? His eyes snapped to mine. Besides collapsing 20 years of financial architecture, triggering investigations across 3 jurisdictions, and exposing assets tied to people who will not appreciate exposure. Jess whispered, oh my God. Sophia went very still. What people? Evan hesitated. Too long. My stomach dropped. What? People. His gaze flicked toward the water, then back. Investors. Political channels. Offshore structures. Things you don't casually publish. So it was bigger than marriages. Much bigger. I felt Sophia's hand find mine beside the gate bars, tight, trembling. We were in this together now. Let us in, I said. Evan hesitated. Then keyed the gate. Metal slid open with a quiet mechanical click. Crossing that threshold felt like stepping into the physical manifestation of the lie that had defined our lives. Sophia led us inside. The villa was everything I expected and worse, taste identical to my husband's. Same stone palette, same art minimalism, same faint cedar scent. Duplicate homes for duplicate men. Or one life split across two addresses. Jess whispered, "This is surreal." I walked slowly through the living room. Every object felt familiar without being mine. Like déjà vu engineered. On a side table sat a framed photo. Sophia and Evan. Barefoot on this very dock, laughing into sun. He held her the way Michael held me in our wedding portrait. I picked it up. Sophia watched me, eyes wet. He said he'd never been married. I nodded once. Mine too. We stood there, two wives holding proof of parallel vows. Evan paced the length of the room, agitation radiating. "Michael will come," he said. "But you're underestimating consequences." I turned. "You're still underestimating us." His jaw tightened. "You think exposure hurts you," I said. "It ends us." Sophia's voice sharpened. "It ends what you built on us." He stopped pacing. For the first time, guilt cut through his fear. "I never meant." "Stop," she said. He did. Time stretched. 42 minutes. No one sat. No one relaxed. We orbited the same truth from different corners of the room. Jess eventually whispered, "So, they alternated cities?" "Yes," I said. Business travel was identity exchange. Sophia added quietly, "When Evan was abroad, he said communication had to stay minimal." I nodded. "Same with Michael." Jess shook her head. "That's insane logistics." "No," I said. "It's disciplined." Which was worse? Because love might have been real. But the structure was intentional. At minute 58, headlights swept the glass walls. Sophia's breath caught. Evan went rigid. I felt my pulse drop into a cold, steady rhythm. "He's here." The front door opened. Footsteps crossed stone. And then Michael Hale walked into the room. For one disorienting instant, my body reacted automatically: relief, recognition, home. Then I saw Evan standing 10 feet away. Two identical men in one space. The illusion shattered permanently. Michael stopped dead. His gaze locked on me first. Pain flashed there, raw, unguarded. Then he saw Sophia. And that pain doubled. Finally, he looked at his brother. Everything unspoken between them detonated silently. No one spoke for several seconds. Twins facing collapse. Wives facing truth. The room held its breath. Michael exhaled slowly. "So." One word. End of secrecy. Beginning of reckoning. Sophia stepped forward first. Not toward Evan. Toward him. "I want to hear it from you," she said. "All of it." He nodded once. "All right," he said quietly. Then he looked at me. And in his eyes I saw something I'd never seen before. Not love. Not lies. Fear. Because for the first time in our marriage, he had no control left at all. No one sat. No one offered water, or apologies, or civility. The four of us stood in a loose square inside the living room, twins on one side, wives on the other, like opposing delegations at the collapse of a treaty. Michael spoke first. "Our father believed a single identity was a liability," he said. "So he raised us to function as one public heir and one shadow counterpart." Sophia's jaw tightened. "That explains finances. Not marriages." "It wasn't supposed to include marriages," Evan said. I laughed once. "You both just accidentally fell in love twice?" Michael's gaze flicked to me. "Yes." The simplicity of it landed harder than denial. Because I believed him. That was the cruelest part. He continued, voice steady but stripped of polish. By the time either of us realized we'd crossed that line, disentangling wasn't feasible. Because of assets, Sophia said. Because of lives, he corrected. She flinched anyway. I stepped forward. So you chose deception? Yes, he said. Not defensive. Not evasive. Just true. How did it work? Jess asked quietly from the edge of the room. Michael glanced at Evan, then back at us. We alternated geographic presence. Portland and Miami were anchor cities. International travel windows covered overlap. Communication gaps were explained as work constraints. Sophia whispered, "You choreographed absence." Evan's voice broke. We compartmentalized. I nodded slowly. We were compartments. Neither twin denied it. I folded my arms. Legal question. Michael stiffened slightly. Which marriage is real? Silence. Then, both, he said. Sophia shook her head. That's not possible. In emotional reality, he said. Legally, only Chloe's. My stomach lurched. Sophia went pale. Evan closed his eyes. Because of course. Public identity. Public marriage. I whispered, "You're not legally married?" Sophia's voice cracked. He filed a private ceremony abroad. He said paperwork was pending. Evan swallowed. It couldn't be filed without exposing the twin structure. So she was a wife in every way. Except existence. I felt her devastation like my own. Children? I asked. Both twins looked up sharply. No, Michael said. No, Evan echoed. The relief that swept the room was immediate and terrible. Because this stopped with us. No next generation collateral. Sophia stepped back, hands trembling. So I gave 8 years to a marriage that doesn't legally exist. Evan moved toward her. It exists. She recoiled. Not on paper. Not in law. Not in the world. He stopped. Because she was right. I turned to Michael. And me? His eyes met mine. You're my wife, he said. The words that once anchored me now sounded insufficient. Because another woman stood 3 feet away holding equal memories. I swallowed. Did you ever intend to tell me? Pain crossed his face. Yes. When? He didn't answer. Answer enough. Sophia's voice steadied. What happens if we expose this? Michael didn't soften it. Financial collapse. Asset seizure. Criminal inquiries. Identity fraud charges. Political fallout for people tied to our structures. Jess muttered, Jesus. Evan added quietly, and both of you dragged into investigations for benefit from undisclosed assets. So exposure hurt us too. Of course it did. The architecture had made sure of that. I paced once across the marble. 10 years of love. 10 years of lies. All real. All false. How many others know? I asked. 2 attorneys, Michael said. 1 accountant. All bound. Sophia exhaled slowly. So we're the last pieces. Yes, Evan said. I stopped pacing. Looked at both men. Then at Sophia. She met my gaze. No competition left. Only shared ruin. So, Michael said quietly, we're here. Meaning, choose. Destroy everything. Or preserve the system. I felt the weight of it settle. 2 women holding the fate of 4 lives, and far more, inside one decision. Sophia whispered, I loved you. Evan's face broke. I know, he said. I looked at Michael. I loved you too, I said. His eyes closed briefly. I know, he echoed. Love. Still present. Still true. And still buried under deception so vast it rewrote reality. I inhaled slowly. Then spoke. All right, I said. Here's what happens next. All four of them went still. Because whatever came now would define the end of this architecture. Or its transformation. And I finally knew which one I wanted. Four faces turned toward me. Michael's, tight with dread. Evan's, already grieving. Sophia's, braced beside me like a mirror of my own fracture. Jess's, silent witness to all of it. For 10 years, I had lived inside a structure I didn't know existed. Now I stood at its load-bearing center. And I realized something with terrifying clarity. I didn't want revenge anymore. I wanted agency. You built a system, I said to the twins. You maintained it. You benefited from it. Neither denied it. So here are the only two outcomes, I continued. Collapse, or conversion. Michael frowned slightly. Conversion? I nodded. You dismantle the deception but preserve the assets. No exposure. No criminal fallout. No public scandal. Evan's eyes narrowed. That's not possible. It is, I said. If we control disclosure. Sophia glanced at me. You mean, restructure the narrative? Yes. Michael studied me now, not as wife, but adversary equal. How? He asked. I met his gaze. You dissolve both marriages. The words hit like stone in water. Sophia inhaled sharply. Evan went rigid. Michael didn't move at all. You want divorce, he said quietly. Yes. The word hurt, and freed, simultaneously. Sophia spoke next, voice trembling but firm. Me too. Evan's face crumpled. Sophia. No, she said. You don't get to keep me in a life that legally doesn't exist. He went silent. I continued, steady. In exchange, we don't expose the twin structure. Michael's jaw tightened. You'd accept silence? No, I said. I'd accept truth, privately acknowledged, contractually bound. Jess blinked. You're negotiating their secret. I nodded once. Yes. Because this wasn't just heartbreak anymore. It was leverage. Michael crossed his arms slowly. What are your terms? I'd been forming them since part 9. Full financial transparency, I said. All marital assets disclosed. Both channels. Evan muttered, that's massive. Good, Sophia said. I continued. Equitable division reflecting actual shared wealth, not the curated public version. Michael nodded once. Reasonable. And, I said, voice sharpening, written admission of the twin structure and dual life concealment, sealed unless you violate settlement. Evan stared. You want insurance? Yes. Sophia added, we both do. Silence stretched. Then Michael said, and in return? No public exposure, I said. No media, no courts, no disclosure beyond legal counsel required for settlement. Sophia exhaled. We walk away with truth and resources. And autonomy, I said. Evan's voice broke. And us? I looked at him. At the man who wasn't mine but had shaped my life anyway. You lose the marriages you built on omission, I said softly. Nothing more. Nothing less. Michael stepped closer to me. Not touching. Just near. Chloe, he said quietly, is there any version of this where you stay? The question landed like a ghost of our life. I shook my head. No, I said. Because I'll never again know if I'm loving you, or the architecture around you. His eyes closed briefly. Acceptance. Sophia faced Evan. I loved you completely. He nodded, tears finally breaking. I know. You made me invisible, she said. I was trying to protect you, he whispered. From truth, she said. He had no answer. Michael looked between us all. Then extended his hand toward Evan. A silent twin exchange passed, decades of shared secrecy dissolving in one glance. Evan nodded once. Michael turned back to me. All right, he said. We accept. Sophia exhaled like she'd been underwater for years. Jess whispered, holy. It was done. Not revenge. Not exposure. Termination with reckoning. 2 marriages ending. 1 secret contained. For lives severed cleanly at last. I removed my wedding ring. The band slid free with shocking ease. 10 years of identity reduced to a circle of metal in my palm. I placed it on the glass table between us. Sophia did the same beside mine. Twin rings. Twin endings. Twin truths finally acknowledged. Michael looked at the rings. Then at me. I did love you, he said. I know, I replied. And for the first time since Miami. It didn't break me to hear it. Because love had been real. But now. So was I. 6 months later, I saw him again. Not by accident. By design. The cafe overlooked the Willamette River, winter's sunlight turning the water into fractured silver. Portland was cold enough to sharpen thought, which was exactly why I'd chosen it. Neutral ground. Former shared city. No ghosts of Miami glass or hidden terraces. I arrived first. No ring now. No Hale name either. I'd gone back to Chloe Mercer, my own surname restored like reclaimed land. When Michael walked in, the air shifted the way it always had. Recognition still lived in muscle memory. But something fundamental was different. He wasn't my husband anymore. He was a man I once loved. He stopped at the table. We looked at each other for a long moment. 6 months had etched quiet lines into his face, less polish, more truth. You look well, he said. I am, I answered. We sat. No touch. No old reflexes. Just 2 former spouses across a table. How's Sophia? I asked. He nodded once. Strong. She moved to Barcelona. Design firm partnership. I smiled softly. That fits her. And Evan? He followed for a while, Michael said. Not together. But nearby. That hurt him to admit. I could see it. Are they okay? I asked. As much as people can be after losing a life, he said. Fair. He studied me. And you? I leaned back slightly. I started my own consultancy. Asset ethics compliance. His brow lifted. Of course you did. I smiled. Turns out living inside undisclosed structures gives perspective. He almost laughed. Silence settled, not awkward, just complete. Finally he said, I still replay it. Me too, I said. The moment at the villa gate, he said. Yes. Everything ended there, he said. I shook my head gently. No, I said. Everything became honest there. He absorbed that. The settlements had been executed cleanly. 2 divorces finalized privately. Assets divided across both identity channels as agreed. Sealed admissions filed. The twin architecture dismantled legally, merged identities disclosed to regulators under controlled amnesty provisions negotiated by very expensive attorneys. No scandal. No prison. No public story. The world never knew. Only 4 people did. And that was enough. Michael folded his hands. Do you hate me? The question was rawer than anything he'd asked before. I considered it honestly. No, I said. Relief flickered across his face. But, I added, I no longer trust the version of reality you create. He nodded slowly. That's fair. We watched the river a moment. Then he said quietly, I did love you. I met his eyes. I know, I said. And you loved me, he said. Yes. Neither statement required defense anymore. They were simply facts from a closed chapter. Do you ever wish, he said carefully, that we'd met outside the system? I smiled faintly. We did, I said. That was the tragedy. Because our love had been real. It just hadn't been whole. We stood at the same time. Closure has its own choreography. Outside, cold air cut clean through wool and memory. At the sidewalk edge, we stopped. No embrace. No lingering. Just truth. Goodbye, Chloe, he said. Goodbye, Michael. He hesitated once. You saved us, you know. I tilted my head. From exposure? From ourselves, he said. I let that sit. Then shook my head gently. No, I said. I saved me. I watched him walk away down the river path. Not my husband. Not my life. Just a man who had once shared both. When he disappeared into winter light, I felt something unexpected rise. Not grief. Not anger. Space. For the first time in over a decade, my identity contained no hidden rooms. No parallel wife. No shadow twin. No architecture. Just me. Later that evening, Sophia sent a photo from Barcelona, sunset over terracotta roofs, wine glass raised toward sky. To endings that were actually beginnings, her message read. I sent back one from Portland River dusk. To lives that belong to us, I replied. People often ask if betrayal ruins you. It can. But sometimes. If you refuse collapse. It reveals the blueprint you were trapped inside. And gives you the power to step out of it. I did. And in the open air beyond that structure, I finally learned what love feels like. When it isn't shared with a ghost.